Which makes us wonder, like, why is this not a pretext? Why is this not fake? That's the question I ask, because it seems clearly fake. Shut up, Putin defender.
These conspiracy theories are a form of pollution. Just like fake news, these kinds of ideas, they poison the media environment, and they make all of us sick.
In the hours after the shooting in Parkland, it was Russian bots that were pushing out points and talking points about gun rights, etc.
As President Trump continues to respond to the FBI's investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 election, we're learning more about other opportunities Russians are seizing on to stir up controversy in this country. For example, after last week's school shooting in Parkland, Florida, where 17 people were killed, Twitter was flooded with messages tagged with words like Parkland and gun control and the name of the suspect. And much of this Twitter activity was directly tied to Russian accounts. With more on how Russia-linked bots and trolls are using a tragedy to create confusion.
They hide behind Twitter hashtags, Facebook ads, and fake news stories. They're the work of bots and trolls. And one of the most skilled countries at deploying them is Russia.
There has been a 2,000% increase in Russian trolls in the last 24 hours. Therefore, we will keep you all abreast of the facts moving forward.
Online activity by Russia bots, trolls and automated accounts has increased by 4,000% following the Salisbury poisoning and alleged chemical attack in Syria. Government analysis has identified what they call Kremlin-inspired accounts that repeatedly post messages to spread disinformation and distort the truth. For more, let's bring in Sky's defence correspondent, Alistair Bunkle. So just explain to us what the government is alleging here.
Very extensive research they've done with the Atlantic Council, which is a think tank based in Washington, and they've looked into a large number of Twitter accounts that have varying forms of activity, but all with the same theme, and that is a pro-Russian theme. Now, that varies from what you and I would probably classify as a bot, so someone who might be perhaps paid to sit in a troll factory in St. Petersburg and push out a Russian message continually throughout a day, often in a very aggressive and abusive way. That's on one end of the scale. The other end of the scale is individuals who might be far more independent of thought, but use their Twitter account to prolifically support messages that are anti-British government. And so you've got that kind of wide range of Twitter users that in the last couple of weeks, with firstly in Salisbury and events there, and then latterly the debate as to whether or not to strike Syria, there's been a huge increase in that activity, which has now been identified by the government. And they've named and shamed a couple of these accounts, but just highlighted how this is going on as a Russian tactic.
So they've highlighted what's going on. What are they going to do with that information?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult because you have to preserve free speech, quite rightly so, and I don't think the British government, and I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I don't think they would ever aim to do anything but that. So some of those individuals have a perfect right to tweet at will and tweet what they want, even if that message disagrees with the British government, even if that message the British government believes contains lies a lot of the time. You cannot just close down that account. You cannot just close down those voices. In terms of what you might describe as Russian bots, so people who are actively under the pay of the Kremlin and working for them and pushing their message, then you can get into realms of sort of counter-cyber activity, if you like. But essentially what the British government needs to try and do, and it has started to do, although let's remember the Russian government are very, very good at this, what they've tried to do is put out their own narrative, if you like. So make sure that they counter the Russian narrative with their own narrative. And you've seen the British government start to do that a lot more. Now, the British government identified 2 Twitter accounts specifically that they claim have been pushing a Russian narrative and spreading lies. One of them I've contacted, and we have him now live. He's called Ian.
Yeah, let's bring in Ian now. Thanks very much indeed for joining us today, Ian. So you've been identified by the government in this research as being a Russian bot, are you?
That is a 100% total lie and complete fabrication by the UK government.
Why do you think they've identified you and singled you in particular out then, Ian?
They are singling out for attack anyone who calls out the UK government lies on what has been happening recently. They have attacked me specifically because my Twitter account has recently got quite a lot of traction and a lot of impressions, views on it, so that lots of people can see. I mean, the government's lies are very transparent and very easy to see. And anybody who applies a smattering of critical thinking will immediately call out numerous lies, and the government position just completely collapses. Well, you had Major General Jonathan Swan on recently on Sky News, and he started off the conversation with what possible motive would Assad have to carry out a chemical weapons attack when it was guaranteed that that would bring the wrath of the whole world down on him and give the UK and US governments the pretext to bomb. He wouldn't do it. He is not the stupidest man in the world. He's survived 7 years of brutal war against terrorists.
Well, if not who then?
The jihadi terrorists, the Wahhabi Salafis, Jaish al-Islam, who controlled that area, staged the attack. What actually happened in Douma in the attack is that Assad bombed the area as part of his fight to clear out the last of the terrorists. Assad had already recaptured 95% of Ghouta, which was this terrorist stronghold just outside Damascus. He had
I just want to bring...
بيضربوا ونزل علينا قذائف تخبينا بالملاجئ لا في لا هي الكيماوي سمعناها بالتلفزيون.
They heard about chemical attack by TV only.
أنا بعيد عنه ولا عليك أبو بشار بعيد عنه 50 متر.
This gentleman he was 50 meters from that
50 متر بعيد عنه.
Wait, what do you mean he was 50 meters?
50, he said.
Right.
From that show, he said.
Okay.
Okay.
On that day?
On that day.
Okay. So when they see it on TV, when they hear about it on TV, what do they think? And what do they think about that?
هلا وقت شفتوه بالتلفزيون شو رايك؟ They were laughing.
They were laughing.
Yeah. ليش عم تضحكوا؟ يعني لعبة بايخة.
Who started the idea that there was a chemical attack? Who does he think started
يعني
that?
مين بتعتقدوا انه هدول اللي لعبوا هاللعبة انه المسرحية سوا تبع
يعني المسرحية صرنا كلياتنا صرنا نعرفها. يعني ما الغرب كله عم يلعب علينا وانت بتعرف وغيرك بتعرف.
Okay, he said the West keeps playing this game. So not first time. And بس انت بتعتقد مين؟
اخي هي لعبة الغرب هن عم يلعبوا فينا. نحن ما
This the West plays this game.
Why?
ليش بتعتقد الغرب لعب هاللعبة؟
لأنه ما حدا بس بالاذاعات والتلفزيون غيرهم. هن اللي يعني مثل اللي قالوا الثاني بدي يعمل لك
هي كل الشغله.
He said like they find excuse to attack Syria or to bombard Syria.
I just want to bring in our defence correspondent Alistair Bunkle, who's with me as well, Ian, to talk to you on this point.
Ian, two questions. One of that is, and this is what the British government, one of the reasons they've highlighted your account, is that the argument is that you have consistently and prolifically taken an anti-British standpoint.
No, I've taken pro-British line. That is completely false. What do you mean by Britain?
And you accuse the British government of mistruths.
No.
But they point out that in 2012 you tweeted this.
Please,
I think we can see a tweet that you put up in 2012 that says that you were voting for Ron Paul. Okay, well, so you say you're going to vote for... I voted for Ron Paul, you said, and then a year later, in 2013, you tweeted this, which says you are now starting to think about moving to America. Okay, I will shortly be moving to America, which meant that in 2012, you could not have voted for Ron Paul. So they question your authenticity when tweeting.
You're trying to cut me off. You're trying to prevent me from speaking, aren't you?
No, far away. I was just putting that point to you, but please answer it.
OK. In 2012, I campaigned online for Ron Paul during the primaries. Vigorously. I've got loads of tweets.
But you said you were voting for him, and the British government say that you were therefore telling lies in 2012, so why should your account be believed now?
And instead of saying I supported Ron Paul in 2012, I said I voted for him. Now, I don't know, I can't remember when I did that one tweet out of the 150,000 that I've done.
Let's just get back to the point about today, though, and the accusations today, Ian. You are denying that you're a Russian bot. You're saying you have absolutely no links with the Kremlin. So the material that you retweet, the government's identified 100 posts a day from your account, 1,300 posts in 12 days. How do you check the veracity of the information that you retweet, the people that you're retweeting? Do you know them? Do you have Kremlin contacts?
I have no Kremlin contacts whatsoever. I do not know any Russians. I have no contact with the Russian government or anything to do with them. I've got no contact with spies. I am an ordinary British citizen who happens to do research on what is going on in the current neocon wars, which are being fought in Syria at this very moment. I check out what is happening by credible journalists. Now, there aren't any of those on Sky News, and there aren't any others in the whole of the Western media. The only people that are reporting with a voice of reason or sanity or honesty are Peter Hitchens, who's questioned why the hell would Assad use chemical weapons when he's winning, and Tucker Carlson in the US, who said the same thing.
OK, Ian, we are running out of time. I just want to
can I quickly ask you, look, firstly, I would say, you know, we bring you on to give your view to make it balanced, but do you ever worry that inadvertently you might be part of a Kremlin propaganda machine? Inadvertently?
No. The question is, what does it mean by being pro-Britain or pro-American? Does it mean being pro the interests of 60 million British people? Or does it mean the clique in the UK government, the cabinet, that are doing things for their own personal benefit and their cronies? In the arms companies, BAE Systems. Theresa May's husband runs a large hedge fund or private equity fund, which is the largest shareholder of BAE Systems. Do you think BAE Systems went up because Theresa May started bombing Syria? Yes, they did. She's got a conflict of interest. That's one. So I am speaking for the vast majority of British people. 59.9 million out of 60 million English people or Scots. I'm not speaking for the UK government, who do not work for the British people. And they plainly ignore the wishes of the British people, because hardly anyone in Britain wants Theresa May to bomb Syria. It's less than 25% want Theresa May to start a war with Assad.
Ian, I'm afraid we have run out of time. Thank you very much indeed for coming on and putting your side of that across. Ian, there talking to us via Skype. Thank you. So you've been identified by the government in this research as being a Russian bot, are you?
So you've been identified by the government in this research as being a Russian bot, are you?
My name is Ethan Sokol, and I'm from New Jersey. So according to our beloved corporate media, I am a Russian bot.
My name is Danielle St. John from California, and I am a Russian bot.
My name is Will Markham from California, and I am a Russian bot.
The media pushes this narrative that Russia is to blame for everything. Russia hacked the DNC.
Russia's hacked into a lot of things.
Massive interference in American elections.
But if that's the case, why didn't the DNC let the FBI look at their servers?
It wasn't Russia, it was us.
Not just in the Facebook groups, we were also there on the ground, protesting. And
I personally made more memes in this election about Hillary Clinton than anybody in Russia did.
I'm sure there'd be a lot of messages we could give to the politicians out there, but this is just us.
Your social media feed may have been part of Russia's interference in the election.
we started to get accused as, a Russian troll or a Russian bot, and we're thinking to ourselves, we don't even speak Russian.
The mass of America is being misrepresented to the world.
They're tied to the Kremlin. They're Russianate. They're Putin's puppet.
We start to think, okay, they're really just trying to mess with us.
They were taking both sides of the argument to try to just raise the noise level.
Anybody who was paying attention to the 2016 election knows how much election fraud was going on.
We know where the actual collusion was. It was between the DNC and the mainstream media. This whole Russiagate narrative is a huge smokescreen to distract from all the corruption in the Democratic Party and, the Republican Party too.
I'm running for Congress, actually. One politician this weekend basically laughed at me and said, unless you have $2 million, you can't compete.
It's not the right versus left. We're all oppressed by the same system.
We're not taking any corporate money.
The mainstream media pundits, they're elites. All the politicians, they're all profiting off of our division, all of our bickering. So we need to fight back.
We got together and demonstrate that we are real people.
Bernie Sanders accused me of being a Russian bot. Bernie wants trouble.
I'm a Russian bot.
I'm a Russian bot. I'm a Russian bot. You're Russian. Yes.
The truth is rising. The truth will prevail.